Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 46. Audio source: WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Enraged Nanyang fist fight with Zhan Zhen. Although the words were an understatement lightly said, it caused all those around to take in a harsh breath. Many had in their minds, "You're nothing more than a powerless rubbish god. How could you be so shameless to say to the one Lang Qianchu, martial god of the East, that if you fight he'll die for sure? What arrogance!" It was like the request for banishment was because fighting Lang Qianchu was beneath him. Pure bullshit. Yet Lang Qianchu didn't think his words were exaggerated at all. "I said, life and death don't matter. I don't need you to let me off easy either." Xie Lian ignored him and reiterated his request to Zhen Wu. "Pray my lord banish me to the mortal realm." Shi Qingshan suddenly raised his arm. "Wait, I have more to say." "Speak, Wind Master," Zhen Wu said. Everyone here seemed to think His Highness Xianla spilt the blood of Yang and royalty for revenge. Yet, if it was revenge, then why did he let the Crown Prince of Yang and His Highness Taiwan go? Logically, the one an avenger would want to cut down the most should be the Crown Prince himself. Am I wrong? It wasn't that no one had thought of this detail, but no one had thought it necessary to voice it either. Now that the Wind Master took the lead, some nodded their heads in agreement. Shi Qingshan continued, "His Highness and I haven't known each other for long, but I did see with my own eyes him fighting head-on against the Scimitar Yiming in order to protect His Highness Taiwan Qianchu. If he regarded the Yang'an monarchy with hatred, why would he unnecessarily defend you against the blade?" Hearing that Xie Lian faced Yiming head-on, both Feng Xin and Mu Qing stared at Xie Lian. Around, there were whispers saying, maybe he was just feeling guilty, but Shi Qingshan immediately raised his voice to exclaim, "That was the weapon of misfortune. The cursed blade. So, I think this whole business is highly suspect. I'm envious that His Royal Highness has gained the Lord Wind Master's friendship to defend him so," Pei Ming said. "Too bad our little General Pei isn't as fortunate." "General Pei, don't muddy the waters," Shi Qingshan said. "Can little General Pei's case be compared the same? I saw him commit crimes with my own eyes too, and heard with my own ears his admission of said crimes. Then isn't that exactly the same as today?" Pei Ming argued. "His Highness Taiwan saw him commit crimes, and heard him admit to said crimes with his own ears. How is that any different?" Shi Qingshan grew furious and was about to argue back when Xie Lian held him back. "Lord Wind Master, thank you, I am in your debt. But please let this go." Shi Qingshan himself hadn't thought of a good comeback against Pei Ming yet, so he only pointed at him, but no more words came out. Finally, Zhen Wu spoke, his tone tranquil. "Everyone please calm down." His voice wasn't particularly loud, very serene, yet everyone within the great martial hall heard his words clearly, and they all stood back to position. Once the hall quieted down, Zhen Wu spoke again. "Taiwan, your actions have always been impulsive. When situations arise, one mustn't be rash. Listen calmly, assess, and then evaluate once you know the whole story." Lang Qianchu lowered his head to heed the lesson. Zhen Wu continued, "Xianla refuses to give us that full story, so his request for banishment is denied. He will be detained in Xianla Palace, and I will personally interrogate him afterwards. Before then, the two of you shall not meet." It was a conclusion no one had expected. Zhen Wu actually shielded Xie Lian, the laughingstock of the three realms who had no temples, no devotees, and no merits. Lang Qianchu was the martial god who ruled the East. If he was unhappy with the verdict, then what a losing business. Even then Zhen Wu chose to shield Xie Lian. Didn't that mean he's still very much in favor? Many of the officials now saw where the wind was blowing, and decided mentally that from then on they won't publicly mention the words laughingstock of the three realms. Shi Qingshan let out a breath of relief and loudly praised Zhen Wu for his wisdom. Lang Qianchu on the other hand only stared at Xie Lian intently. Whatever the Lord wishes to question, go ahead and question, but whatever the conclusion I will still duel him. With that, Lang Qianchu bowed to Junwu before he turned and left the hall. Junwu waved his hand and a couple martial officials came forward to take Xie Lian away. As they passed by Shi Qingshan, Xie Lian spoke in a soft voice. Lord Wind Master, thanks for everything. But if you must help me, don't say any more on my behalf, but can I ask you to do 2 things for me? Shi Qingshan was still feeling bad about fanning the fire that burnt down Paradise Manor, and wished dearly Xie Lian would ask him for anything. Whatever you need. The boy I settled in the side chambers, please take care of them, Xie Lian said. Nothing I can't do. What's the second thing? Shi Qingshan said. If General Pei still wanted to make things difficult for Ban Yu in the future, please help her out. Of course, Shi Qingshan replied. I won't let Pei Ming get his way. Where is she? I've hidden her in a small pickle jar in my Puqi shrine. If you have the time, please air her out sometimes, Xie Lian said. After thanking the Wind Master, 2 heavenly officials brought Xie Lian before Xianli Palace before courteously excusing themselves. Thanks for your hard work. Xie Lian bowed his head slightly. Stepping through the front gates, Xie Lian closed the doors behind him. Looking around, as he expected, not just appearance-wise but all the facilities were exactly the same as his previous palace. Last time he passed by he didn't enter, never having guessed that the first time he was to step foot in here would be due to detention. Not the best sign. But after so much excitement of the past few days, his heart was tired, and Xie Lian passed out immediately on the ground. He dreamt of many things. He seemed to be meditating with his eyes closed. When he blinked open, he found himself sitting in the lotus position, one before a desk, his black robes flowing on the floor in layers around him, and on his face seemed to be a cold, heavy mask. When he lowered his head, the sight before him was of a young boy sprawled over the desk. The boy appeared to be 14 or 15 of age, his attire distinguished, his form strumming with life but fast asleep. He shook his head and walked over. Bending slightly, he knocked on the desk. Your Royal Highness. Maybe it was because of the cold mask, even his voice was cool. The boy finally woke with a start. When he raised his eyes and saw him, he sat upright immediately in horror. Head priest, he said, you fell asleep again. Copy the ethics scripture 10 times as punishment. The Crown Prince cried in dismay. Master, please no. Why don't you have me run 10 laps around the palace as punishment? Copy 20 times. Do it now, and write nicely. The Crown Prince seemed to fear him, and sat up properly to start writing. He then sat back at his original position and continued to meditate. Truthfully, everyone in the palace was a little scared of him. But this sense of distance and oppressive power was created intentionally by him. However, this Crown Prince may be too young, so he could never hold that sense of fear for long. Not long after he started copying the scripture, he called out, Master. He put down the book in hand. What is it? I've become skilled in all the sword techniques you taught me last time. Isn't it time for a new technique? The Crown Prince said. All right. What do you want to learn? He said. I want to learn the technique you used to save me. The Crown Prince exclaimed. He contemplated for a bit and said, That one? No. Why? The Crown Prince asked. That technique is impractical. At least it's unsuitable for one in your position, he explained. The Crown Prince didn't understand. But isn't it convenient? Using one sword to dissolve the power of 2. You saved me with that technique. It was normal for the Crown Prince not to understand. He said, Your Royal Highness, let me ask you a question. Ask, he said. Once there were 2 people, eyes sunken red with hunger, and started fighting in order to rob each other of food. In came a third person, and he wanted to stop the fight. Do you think words would be effective in this situation? No, it'd be useless. They only want food, right? That's right. Because the root of the problem wasn't solved, no one would listen to your reason. Thus, the only way this third person can stop the fight was to provide what they wanted. To give food from his own purse. The crown prince seemed to understand but not. He continued, "The reasoning is the same. You must understand that the moment a sword is unsheathed, someone will be hurt. When power is released, something must receive it. Thus, it was wrong for you to say I dissolved the force of two swords. Nothing was dissolved. I absorbed their attacks. To stop an attack by hurting oneself is a foolish technique, and only used when there are no other alternatives. You're an esteemed crown prince. You've no use for something of the sort." The crown prince continued to copy his scripture, but after a while, his face sunk with thought. He asked, "Did you have any other questions?" After a moment of hesitation, the crown prince said, "One thing, Master. If the third person didn't have enough food, then what should be done?" The crown prince continued, "If both of the hungry had gotten food but wanted more, and fought harder because of greed, and sought more food from the third person, what should be done?" "What do you think?" he asked. The crown prince pondered and said, "I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have intercepted from the start. The great hall was gold. Everything was golden. However, at present, it all became crimson. Every golden banquet table sprawled a person. Their throats were pierced, their deaths tragic. His hand that held the sword wouldn't stop shaking. The stately king was covered in blood, his eyes red-filled with pain and hatred. Next to his feet was the dead body of the queen. His sword in hand, he took one step after another and walked over. When the king raised his head and saw him, he was dumbfounded. "Head priest, you!" A severely cold and cruel sword struck. Right at the same time, he sensed something and turned his head away immediately. The young crown prince was just outside the door, standing amidst the corpses of guards. The boy's eyes were blank, as if wondering what he saw was reality or a dream. He took a step and almost tripped on the threshold, his mind lost. He pulled out his sword. Blood splattered onto his black robes. The crown prince didn't trip on the threshold but tripped on the dead bodies on the ground. He rushed to the king's body, his voice finally returning. "Father, mother?" Yet the king would never speak again. The crown prince couldn't shake him awake and turned his head madly towards him, his eyes wide. "Master, what are you doing? What did you do?" "Head priest." It was a long while after before he heard his own voice devoid of emotion. "You all deserved it." Xie Lian didn't sleep well and rolled awake with a start. He sleepily rubbed his eyes and realized he didn't actually sleep that long, and didn't dream anything nice either. Good thing there was something on his chest that poked him awake. He sat for a while, then found something in his clothes after feeling around for it. He opened his palm and revealed 2 dice, the same ones from the Paradise Manor. A sea of red subconsciously floated in his mind. The scene was blurry but the crimson silhouette was clear as day, watching him unmoving within that sea of red. Xie Lian sighed. "I wonder how much is left of San Lang's Paradise Manor. If I get banished again this time, who knows how much junk I'll have to sell or how long it'd take to pay him back. Decades, centuries, if anything I'll pay him with my entire life." Xie Lian looked at the dice for a bit before clapping his hands close, shook them in his palms and tossed them to the ground. The dice rattled and rolled around the ground before coming to a stop. As expected, all the luck he borrowed from watching were used up. He was hoping for another roll of 2 sixes, but it was only snake eyes. Xie Lian couldn't help but laugh, shook his head, and suddenly heard footsteps coming from behind. He steadied himself immediately and packed away both the dice and his smile. The footsteps didn't sound like Jun Wu. Jun Wu walked with deep certainty, unhurried. Although watching walked with nonchalance, often lazy, yet the aura of confidence and surety were exactly the same. The set of footsteps, however, were a little floaty. Xie Lian turned his head around and was taken aback. "It's you." The person before him was clad in black, his face fair and his lips thin. His expression was indifferent, maybe even cool. As a martial god, he looked more like a literature god. Who else could it be but Mu Qing? He saw Xie Lian's startled expression and raised his brows. Who did you think? Feng Xin? Without waiting for a response, he lifted his black robes and crossed the threshold of the door. Feng Xin probably won't come after all. What are you doing here? Xie Lian asked. The Great Lord detained you, and won't let His Highness Taiwa come. But he didn't say I couldn't come, Mu Qing said. He didn't bother answering Xie Lian's question earlier. Whatever. Xie Lian wasn't actually curious anyway, and didn't question him further. Mu Qing looked around the newly built Xianli Palace, his eyes ending up on Xie Lian. After some thought, he suddenly threw something at him. A blue shadow flashed in the air. Xie Lian caught it with his left hand, and when he opened his palm it was a small blue porcelain bottle. It was a bottle of medicine. Mu Qing said apathetically. Dragging around a bloody right arm doesn't look good. Xie Lian held the bottle but didn't move, and watched him with discern instead. After his third ascension there could only be one word to describe the way Mu Qing treated him: weird. It always felt like he was waiting for Xie Lian to get booted for the third time so he could make sneering remarks. Yet now that Xie Lian might actually get booted for the third time, he suddenly became friendly, and even came to gift him medication. This 180-degree change in attitude actually made Xie Lian feel a little weird. Seeing that Xie Lian wasn't moving, Mu Qing smirked faintly. Use it if you want. Either way no one else is gonna come. It wasn't a smile without mirth. It was obvious that he's actually feeling pretty good. Although Xie Lian didn't feel his right arm was in pain, there was no reason to just leave the injuries be either. That pat from Jun Wu was a quick fix, but it's better to have medication. Thus, he opened the small blue bottle, and carelessly started pouring the contents onto his arm. What came out of the bottle wasn't powder or pill, but a light blue smoke. The smoke floated wildly, wrapping around his arm. It sent cool and refreshing. It was certainly a high-grade item. Mu Qing suddenly asked, was everything Lang Qianchu said true? Did you really kill all those Yang'an royalties? Xie Lian raised his eyes to look at him. Even if Mu Qing had been forcibly hiding it, Xie Lian could still see a thread of uncontrollable excitement in his eyes. He seemed to be highly interested in the details of Xie Lian spilling blood at the gilded banquet, and continued his questions. How did you kill them? Just then, another set of footsteps came from behind them. The two turned their heads at the same time, and the one visiting this time was Feng Xin. The moment he entered he saw Mu Qing in the main hall, even smiling next to a crouching Xie Lian. He immediately frowned with alarm. What are you doing here? Xie Lian waved the little bottle in his hand. Mu Qing schooled his expression. He was just saying that Feng Xin wouldn't be coming, and Feng Xin arrived the next second. Not funny at all. This isn't your palace. What? You can come but I can't, Mu Qing said. Feng Xin ignored him and turned to Xie Lian. He hadn't even opened his mouth and Xie Lian spoke up. If the two of you came to ask the same question, then I will give you one answer. There's no need to not believe. Every word I said at the Great Martial Hall today was true. Feng Xin paled. Mu Qing hated that expression and said in annoyance, all right, put that face away. After everything, who are you looking pained for? Feng Xin glared at him. Not for you. Get out. And who are you to tell me to get out? Mu Qing said, speaking as if you're so loyal. How many years did you last again? Didn't you run away too? Veins popped all over Feng Xin's face. Xie Lian could sense this exchange was going in the wrong direction and raised his hand. Hold it, as if Mu Qing was the type to hold it back. He sneered. Everyone says it was because you couldn't stand seeing your old master fall from grace. What a pretty excuse. At the end of the day, you just didn't want to waste the rest of your days following a broken man. Feng Xin swung out his fist. What the fuck do you know? Bam! Feng Xin's fist landed squarely on Mu Qing's face. Mu Qing was a standard pretty boy. A bashing punch from Feng Xin was like a persimmon smashed on his face, bloody and miserable. Yet he stood his ground, and without even a whine, he punched right back. When the two ascended, they both obtained their own spiritual devices, yet at the height of anger, the best tool to release their rage was their fists. When Feng Xin and Mu Qing fought 800 years ago, their martial arts were at the same level. After 800 years there was still no difference. Each punch landed. The brawl was messy and mad, each holding their own. Feng Xin cried angrily, "Don't think I don't know your nasty thoughts. The more crimes he commit, the happier you become." Mu Qing spat, "I knew you always looked down on me. What a joke. Look at yourself. What right do you have to look down on me?" The pot calling the kettle black. Lang Qianchu and Xie Lian hadn't even started dueling, and Feng Xin and Mu Qing already started brawling. Their grudges had been building for a long time. The fight was uncontrolled and riotous, each cussing at the other without hearing what was cussed back, and certainly had no mind to hear anything Xie Lian had to say. Xie Lian recalled back when the three of them were younger. Mu Qing had been soft-spoken and well-mannered, and if Feng Xin had hit anyone it was all under Xie Lian's command, and he'd stop when Xie Lian said stop. Now neither was the case. Dragging his arm, Xie Lian ran towards the door, hoping to call for help from any nearby officials, but before he even stepped foot out of the main hall, there was a huge loud bang that exploded from the front. Feng Xin and Mu Qing were also shocked by the large noise and stopped, their eyes alert, looking to where the sound came from. The front doors to Xianli Palace was kicked open by someone. Beyond the door wasn't the expansive Great Martial Boulevard of the Heavenly Court, but a dead, deep blackness. And from within the darkness, numerous chilling silver butterflies rushed out towards them. Translator's notes. Lotus position, a cross-legged position for meditation purposes. End chapter.